Hello, Anthony.
Hello, Claudine.
We're here today to talk about a new service that IRSMedic, the law offices of Parent and Parent, are offering.
That's right.
Everyone around the office in the firm is really excited.
Yeah.
But quickly, first tell me, where did IRSMedic, how did the law firm start?
Well, my dad and I went to law school together, and he started a year before I did, but he was going at nights, 4-year program, and then it looked like he was having too much fun. So I decided to go to the same law school, Quinnipiac. Didn't apply to any other law school. I got in, and 3 years was my full-time program. We graduated on the same day, my dad and I, and we took federal income tax together, and he helped me and about 20 other people get an A. And so we had no intention of working together when we graduated. But as it worked out, I was too young for anyone to hire me, and he was too old. So we just sort of looked at each other like, well, maybe we can make a go of this. And so we did. And that was in 2004.
Yep.
And we've been having a lot of fun ever since.
Yeah, and the knack for the tax services, really, it's amazing to see so many talented people all working in one place. All right, so we've come up with something called total tax diagnosis.
That's right.
And run me through why we thought we needed to do this.
Well, this is the situation that we are offering full service legal fees, legal services for tax resolution.
Yep.
Look, comes down to it, most people don't have the ability to pay. That's what it is.
Yep.
Our fees, typically, it's going to be $8,500 for someone to hire a lawyer to get it all done. And then it goes from there.
Yep.
And it can get really, really big depending on what the issue is. And, really, that's going to be, you're talking about maybe 10% of the people with problems are going to have the money themselves or the access to borrow the money from family in order to pay that. So there were so many people we wanted to help, and there really wasn't any way. And then we would see these people, unfortunately, go to these tax resolution places and get nothing but jerked around. We have so many stories of clients who ultimately came back to us because now they had a problem where they really didn't have a choice but to hire us.
Yes.
And so, we're just thinking there's so many people out there who could avoid all these disasters if only we had a way to help them in a way that they could afford it. I've been thinking about this for years. I had a bunch of ideas that never could quite get off the ground, but thanks to our IT department, we've come up with something to help all of those people out.
It is frustrating to watch these companies, quote one price, and then they either don't finish the job or continue to charge the clients or their customers. And the Federal Trade Commission released a consumer alert. We'll put that in the body of the video about these companies.
Yeah. And I think most people, and we've had a lot of sophisticated clients have hired these people, and then they sheepishly
they come back.
I was like, no, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know what else to do. And I just didn't know who to go to. And they just sort of made it seem like they could do it.
So now we can help.
They said it with such confidence. I went with them, and just some terrible things going on out there. And it's fairly, the IRS doesn't really do anything about it.
No,
they really
why
don't.
Would they?
And I mean, the press release is about the most you can expect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, we also realized there's services like LifeLock, and they monitor things like identity theft. Well, an issue with the IRS is 100 million times more detrimental to you than your identity getting stolen.
Yeah, I don't mean to say anything bad about LifeLock. It's a big company.
It's a good service.
Right. And they do fantastically well, and there's a demand for it. But one of the things that, I've noticed, I don't think it does this, is that if your identity theft is most likely going to be stolen by somebody who's using it for tax purposes. But they don't cover that. So our service, and we'll get into that a little bit more, what we have is actually a great way to find out if anyone has been using it, to see. That happens sometimes when, and this is, over the years, we always have fun when we get, this is something that we're always doing for our clients when they hired us. And that was always kind of the most fun of a representation to say, okay, let's just tell you what's going on. And then the look on clients' faces is like, you got to be kidding me. No, that's completely wrong.
Yes.
And so knowing that always gave us the upper hand to get the best result. Other people couldn't. It wasn't that we were necessarily magicians, but you start with better prep you're going to get a better result.
Yes. So the first thing we have here, one of the products, is the Total Tax Diagnosis Report. This is really important because you're going to find out what the IRS thinks about you and your tax situation. You need to know that information so you know how to solve the problem. You can't solve the problem without knowing this. So if you have a company say, we're going to do an offer and compromise for you for $1,000, be extremely wary. So when we run the report, there's a few examples. I'll give you, there's a lot of information on it, tons of information, but some really important information you need to know. The penalty and interest amount that the IRS claims you owe could be very different than what you think.
Yeah, and if I could just interrupt you there.
Yeah.
Because this is something that goes on with a lot of these scammy tax resolution places. They're going to say, I can save you 50%. We're just going to get those penalties removed. Well, what if you are armed with the information to say, well, actually, the penalties only add up to 10% of my balance. So how is removing all my penalties going to save me half? You're clearly full of it. So what's real?
Yep. The report will also tell you if you're eligible for first-time penalty abatement. Very important.
That's right. And we'll also, in our guide, we're going to show you how you can request that yourself. So you don't need to hire someone to get your penalty abatement. In a lot of cases, and the way it is pretty much everybody will satisfy the requirements for first-time penalty abatement. And so right there could be worth thousands of dollars easily.
Yeah. If you could be discharging your tax debt in bankruptcy, if that's an option, whether or not you're at height of risk for being audited, if there's a revenue officer assigned to your case, if they're going to levy or garnish your wages.
That's right.
So important to know.
That's right.
You also mentioned now when you get that, you're going to get, we're calling it the IRSMedic Handbook.
That's right.
And it is going to break down the report for you because, the report's going to be a lot of information and we don't want people to pay for it and then feel overwhelmed. And not be able to use it.
And it's written in a language that the average person can understand.
Yes.
With phone numbers, here, call this, ask for this. In an example, the first-time penalty abatement, the Irish, well, why don't they tell you about that? Like the person's like, hey, I can see you're eligible for, would you like to take advantage of the first-time penalty abatement, right? Well, they're not going to tell you that.
They don't do that.
So you have to do that. And and it's really something when you call and ask for it, oh, yeah, it's that easy. But if you didn't know that magic word and then the phone numbers to call, you would never get that.
Yep.
It's really something else. What knowledge, how much knowledge could really, really give you a lot of power. So that's why this is something I'm just so happy we've been able to get because this has been my frustration for now 10 years, over 10 years.
Yep.
So many people, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, you just don't have the money to pay. And I know. Yep. And I'm like, I wish there was something I could do, but there's a lot.
Now there is.
Now there is. Yeah,
it's so exciting.
It's really exciting.
Another service that we're offering is after that you can schedule a strategy session.
That's right.
Strategy session. So we've got enrolled agents, CPAs, attorneys. They're all going to run their eyes over your report. So an actual attorney will be looking at it. You're scheduled for a one-on-one strategy session, and you can either do it in office or teleconference. We have clients all over the world.
Yeah, and I would say just that might be a pretty good idea. Just we'll give you the report. It might be a good idea just so you can just underline the question. Hey, I think this is really the way I should go. Explain to me a little bit more.
Yes.
Because we do have the bias of doing this every day, so we oftentimes think things are much easier than they are when this is the first time you're seeing it. That as a taxpayer, you're not an expert at the IRS, and I don't even know if the IRS is an expert at the IRS.
Yep.
So this will, really good way to get a bunch of value so that you can, make sure that, what our goal is with people is to say, in order to, we've always said, IRSMedic, right? We want to stop the bleeding. Instead of people going and doing the same wrong thing, because every large tax problem starts off small. It's true.
And there's another service where if, let's say you are in a bind, you did just get levied or garnished, there's an expedited service where we can, just get on this immediately. And help you.
And a lot of times it's with businesses too, they find out, the classic one is you're running a business and then one day something happens, like there's a levy to your bank account and you're like, what's going on? It's the IRS, what? And you had an employee embezzling payroll taxes and that same employee was hiding all the notices so you didn't know, or you're married and maybe your spouse was doing something, you're not so sure, and you had no idea this has happened. You're like, what's going on? And that's really expedited because there is with our standard and premium services, there is that 3 week turnaround time. It does take time to get it all done. In order to offer that price, it's got to be 3 weeks. We can't do it. So we do offer the expedited service for a bit more but there's certain circumstances where you really need it.
You got to put that fire out.
Yeah.
And these are for domestic tax issues.
That's right. We won't be able to reveal, we won't know we do handle a lot of foreign issues, and the passport issue is coming up, but these domestic issues are really what's going to trigger your passport being revoked, because the IRS does have that now, right?
Yep.
You could be, if you didn't get notices, because the IRS has a lousy address. I mean, think about this, and you're planning on I'm going to go, my buddy's getting married in Bali, right? I have friends who travel the world there. I didn't go to that one. It was a little too far for me. And you're thinking, okay, I'm going to get on a plane. Could you imagine the embarrassment when you're I guess you'd be landing in Bali, because they're really not checking your passport when you're leaving the country,
Well, we
right?
don't know. There's no actual process
right,
yet.
we don't know. So,
but we
you
do
could
know
be,
it could be
that could
terrible.
be a whole bunch of embarrassment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do is we'll put a link below to the total tax diagnosis page with all the different prices and packages. You can also visit IRSMedic.com, go to our services and fees package for all the pricing. Don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions. If you'd like to find out more about the program, you can call us at 888-727-8796. You can email info@irsmedic.com. You can like and comment below and subscribe, because we have lots of tax updates, very interesting and informative information. And we thank you for watching. IRSMedic, the law offices of Parent LLP, real tax attorneys for tough tax problems.